Last evening, as I was praying evening prayer, I had a very unusual prayer. I prayed that one of you from this parish would win the Mega Million lottery. I thought, how great would that be if one of the parishioners won that? For sure, they would give $1 million to the church. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But even more than $1 million, what if one of you gave one of your children to the church as a priest or as a religious? I once said that, and after Mass, a couple approached me. They looked rather tired, rather worn out. Standing in front of them was kind of a tall, lanky young man, looking a little disshuffled himself. And they said to me, "Father, our son is still in high school, but you can have him." Today, a couple did give their son over to the care of the priest. For Hannah, this must have been a huge sacrifice. She prayed. She prayed for many years because they were advanced in age and they had no children. In Elkanah, and they conceived a son by the name of Samuel. And after caring 3 years for him, she informed her husband she was taking the boy to the sanctuary for him to become a perpetual Nazirite. In other words, a perpetual priest, giving him over to God. Now, this seems like the oddest reading to have, especially when we're celebrating the Holy Family. It tells about the apparent breakup of a family. Shouldn't we be trying to be bringing the family together, not tearing them apart? What is happening is not disintegration of the family, but unity on a deeper level. I'm convinced in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, that if we are going to save the family, and we must if the church and society is to have a future, we need to first recognize something worth more than even the family. And the Catechism states it very, very succinctly in number 2232 in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It says, family ties are important, but not absolute. And in Scripture, Jesus said, "He who loves father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." And that's what today's Old Testament and gospel is about. In the gospel, we have another reading which at first seems jarring for a Sunday emphasizing the family. The 12-year-old Jesus separates himself from his mother and father. And he's gone for 3 days, causing them anguish. Most of us can barely begin to imagine what they must have went through. Perhaps parents who have children have had them disappear on them. And the torture that they go through looking for their children. Are they kidnapped? Did they run away? Is he alive? Is he dead? Certainly, being an only child of theirs must have intensified their great fear and their anxiety. I can't explain why Jesus did this to his parents. Somehow it must relate back to maybe that Paschal mystery when Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. I don't know. Mary did not get an answer which would satisfy her. Son, why did you do this to us? And she took and she pondered those words in her heart. Now, Jesus here is certainly not teaching kids to be disrespectful to their parents. In fact, it's just the opposite. The only description we have of this next year is that he was obedient to them. But at that moment, he had to be in his Father's house. The terrible suffering in that sense can only be understood in relationship to the tie that is truly, truly absolute. If we're going to save the family and indeed begin to understand the suffering of our lives, we have to put God first. That is the only way we're going to begin to understand it. And begin to consider the time spent in our Father's house as the most valuable thing of all. My brothers and sisters, the family is important. But if God is not put first in our lives, the order is not correct. Even Jesus said, I must be in my Father's house. God first, and family will come. When Jesus put God first, he went home to his mother and father, and he was obedient to them, and that family grew in holiness. What is your prayer this night? What are you praying for? Hopes for your family? As we turn to a new year, let me give you the secret to success for your family. Put God first, and your family will surely come along too. How much time are you spending in your Father's house?